I'm going to tell you guys a really scary story today. So get ready because it's going to be really messed up. Oh, by the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Anyways, let's go to the story now. This story was sent to me by an anonymous user. I changed some names to protect the privacy of the people in the story. And by the way, all of the images that I used in this story are from Pixabay, so don't worry, they're safe to click on. Also, I added some creepy music to the background, so turn your volume down if it's too loud for you. Anyways, let's go to the story now. I work as a carer for a very well-respected company. All of my clients are elderly people who need assistance with daily tasks like cooking or cleaning. The pay is great, and the hours are flexible, so I love my job. I've been working for this company for about 6 months, and I've had around 30 clients. One of them was an older gentleman named Arthur. He was around 80 years old, and he had recently had a stroke, which left him partially paralyzed. His wife, Mary, had been caring for him at home until his condition worsened, and he had to go into a care home. When I first visited him, he was very sad and didn't want to talk to me. But after a few visits, he started opening up, and we became friends. Arthur and Mary lived in a small town about 30 minutes away from me. I only had to visit Arthur once a week for a few hours to help him with his medication and other daily tasks. On the day of my first visit, I was very excited to meet my new client. I arrived at their house and was greeted by Mary. She was a very nice woman, and she gave me a tour of the house and explained what I would be doing. We then went to see Arthur, and I introduced myself and started chatting with him. He was initially very quiet, but he eventually started talking to me about his life and his hobbies. I was very impressed by how positive he was despite his condition. As the weeks went by, I started to notice some strange things about Arthur. For example, he would always ask me to turn off the television when I arrived, even though he couldn't hear very well. He also seemed to know a lot about me and my life, even though I had only visited him once a week. It was weird, but I just put it out of my mind. I continued visiting Arthur and helping him with his daily tasks. He was a very kind man, and he always made sure to thank me for my help. I enjoyed my visits to Arthur's house. Despite the strange things that happened there, I liked Arthur, and I was happy to help him. One day, while I was helping Arthur with his medication, I noticed a bottle of pills on his nightstand. I asked him what the pills were, and he told me that they were sleeping pills. I was surprised because he didn't seem to need them. I asked him why he took them, and he told me that he couldn't sleep without them. I thought it was strange, but I didn't question it. On my next visit, I noticed that the bottle of sleeping pills was empty. I asked Arthur if he had taken all the pills, and he said yes. I was concerned because I didn't want him to run out of medication, so I offered to buy him another bottle. He thanked me, but he told me that he didn't need any more pills. I was confused, but I didn't press him. A few weeks later, I was helping Arthur get dressed, and I noticed that he was wearing one of my client's nightgowns. I asked him where his clothes were, and he told me that he didn't need them. He said that he felt more comfortable in the nightgown. I couldn't believe that he was going around the house naked except for a nightgown. I tried to convince him to put his clothes back on, but he wouldn't listen to me. He kept telling me that he was fine like this, and that I should stop being weird. I was scared and uncomfortable, but I didn't know what to do. I eventually gave up trying to make him put his clothes back on, and I just helped him with his breakfast. After he finished eating, I went to the bathroom to wash my hands. As I was washing my hands, I heard a noise in the bedroom. I couldn't quite make out what the noise was, but it sounded like someone crying. I thought it was strange, but I didn't think much of it. I dried my hands and went back to the kitchen to get ready to leave. As I was getting ready to leave, I heard the same noise again. It sounded like someone screaming this time. I was scared, but I didn't want to seem like I was, so I just acted natural and continued packing up my things. After I finished packing up my things, I went to the front door to say goodbye to Arthur. As I was saying goodbye to Arthur, I could hear the commotion in his bedroom. It was getting louder and more frantic. I was scared, but I didn't want to show it, so I just smiled and waved goodbye to Arthur. As I closed the door behind me, I could hear a loud crash followed by silence. I was shaken by what I had heard, but I didn't want to worry Mary, so I just told her that everything was fine and that I would see her next week. I then got in my car and drove home. The whole drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about the noise that I had heard. I tried to convince myself that it wasn't anything to worry about, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something bad had happened. When I got home, I called my friend and told her about what had happened. She was very worried and she tried to convince me to call the police, but I wouldn't listen to her. I knew that Arthur was an adult, and I didn't want to get him into trouble. I also didn't want to look like I was making up a story for attention. So I decided to just forget about it and focus on my other clients. The next week when I visited Arthur, I was very nervous. I was worried that something bad had happened to him. When I arrived at his house, I knocked on the door and Mary opened it. I asked her if everything was okay, and she looked at me with a strange expression on her face. She then invited me in, and I went to see Arthur. When I went to see Arthur, I was shocked. He was lying in bed fully naked, and he was covered in bruises. I was scared, but I didn't know what to do. I tried to get him to talk to me, but he just stared at me blankly. I eventually had to leave because I couldn't take care of him in that condition. When I went to leave, Mary stopped me and asked me if I knew what had happened to him. I told her no, and she started crying. She then called the police and they took Arthur away in an ambulance. I never saw Arthur again, but I will never forget the look on his face when I found him. It still haunts my nightmares to this day. That was the story. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Anyways, bye.